Hi and welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot second since I filmed anything. Deal with it, I guess. It's the 12th of August today and Taylor Swift has announced her new album's coming out, so it's a good day. Today I'm going to talk to you about all the books I read in July. These are all the 10 books I think that I read in July, so let's talk about them. That's really heavy. I'm going to try and power through this as quick as possible because I'm getting so sticky. Without further ado, let's discuss. So the first book I started out with in July is a newer release, I guess, and that is Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. If you don't know anything about this book, it's kind of like a follow-on story from Not in Love, but this book follows Eli's younger sister Maya and her romance with a man called Connor Harkness. It's very much like Eurosummer vibes if you're into that, as it's based in Sicily. And the whole kind of like plot point of this book is Rue and Eli getting married, and that's why Maya is here with Connor. It's a age gap romance, but honestly I feel like some people are really like upset about it. I'm actually not. It's like not that deep. Call me crazy, but I really like this book. I gave it a 4.75, although I'd probably like lower that now to like a 4 or 4.5 just because I don't think about it as much. But still a good book, and I would recommend if you just want like I said, like a very much Eurosummer-esque book. This is definitely the one to go for. Okay, so the next book I read was a book that I bought literal years ago and has been sitting on my shelf collecting dust because I was just so scared of it, as stupid as that sounds. And that book is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I bought this book after Jack Edwards raved about it in a video, like I said, years ago. And so I thought, oh, well, if he likes it, everyone will like it, I'll like it. When I bought this book, I was very much kind of still figuring out what I liked. And then I've kind of since realised that what I like is romance and fantasy, and this isn't either of those things. I'm really glad that I got over myself and decided to give this book a go because it's a 5-star read for me. It was so good. If you don't know anything about this book, it's called Hamnet, and that's who the book follows. And if you don't know who Hamnet is, he is William Shakespeare's dead son. He wrote the play Hamlet about Hamnet, as confusing as that is. And it's just perfect. Like, it's written so easy, like it's so easy to follow. It's not complicated, it's not got weird language and you have to kind of like understand, like it's not Old English or anything. And it's a now and then timeline between now being Hamnet and kind of his story, and then being Shakespeare and his wife, and like them romancing and courting, which is really interesting. And yeah, I just don't know what else to say. Like, I don't want to give anything away. I just really think if you're like me and bought this and haven't read it because you're scared of it, take this as your sign to read it because it was just perfect. The next 2 books that I read are two books from the Vancouver Storm series by Stephanie Archer, and that is The Fake Out and The Wingman. The Fake Out comes first, then The Wingman. So if you don't know anything about this series, the first book is Behind the Net, which I'm sure you've probably heard of or seen, and these are all like ice hockey romances, if you cannot tell from the covers. The first book is about Pippa and Jamie, and then the second book, The Fake Out, follows Pippa's sister Hazel and Rory Miller, who was originally Jamie's like arch nemesis. This is a fake dating trope and it was just so good. Rory's very much like the golden retriever boy, and it was just so cute. I gave it a 3.5, which I feel like me raving about it sounds quite low considering, but the other books are just so good and this just wasn't quite it for me. I honestly think I just don't like blonde boys. Call me crazy, but I don't know. It was still really good. It just wasn't my fave in the series. And then the next book is The Wingman, and this follows Hayden and Darcy. Darcy has just come out of like a long relationship, and Hayden is like her best friend, so it is like friends to lovers. And he becomes like her wingman and getting back into the dating pool, which is such like an interesting concept. I love and adore this book. I gave this one 4 stars. It was so good. Also just like for the covers alone, I feel like you should read these books. They're just perfection, in my professional opinion. This series can do no wrong in my opinion, so I will forever be reading these as long as they come out. So the next book I read is another one that isn't really my usual go-to story, and is another one that I bought because it's been raved about and then was just scared to read, like the little bitch I am, and that is The Colour Purple by Alice Walker. This book, I actually really enjoyed it. It took a while for me to get into it just based on like the way it was written, but it had to be written that way due to the story. The whole premise of this book is it's between two sisters, Nettie and Celie. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And they kind of write to each other through letters. It's completely written in letters, and it's between Celie writing to God, and then also writing, and then her sister Nettie writing to Celie later on. And it just kind of is about their life growing up, the struggles they've gone through. You know, it covers more sensitive topics like abuse and like violent family members, but it's just such a beautiful book, and their relationship is just so stunning. And yeah, I feel like this book really educated me because I didn't do history in school, so I didn't learn much about like 20th century, like the 20th century and like African women in the 20th century. So it's really, yeah, just so good. I gave this book 4 stars again. We love her. Please read. This next book, honestly, kind of disappointing, and that is Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. And I'm so upset that I just didn't enjoy this book as much as I hoped I would, because I love, like, have done, always will do, I love and adore The Hating Game. It's one of like my comfort books. The film is a comfort film, like I watch it so frequently. And then I read this and it just kind of didn't hit. And I think it's just really upsetting because this book did come out after The Hating Game, and I just feel like it just wasn't half as good in my opinion. This book follows Ruthie, who works in a caring home and is very much like an old soul at heart, and doesn't really date much. And then she meets Teddy, who kind of bad boy, rides a motorbike, not her forte at all. And she kind of hates him at first. They have like a bad first impression of each other, and then, as you can guess, he kind of gives it a second try to kind of impress her. It just, yeah, it wasn't for me at all, unfortunately. Like, it was okay by the end of it. The romance was kind of cute, but that's really rude. But it was just very insta-lovey. The first 2 chapters of the book is she's very much like, oh, I hate this man, like, don't like him, not a bit of me. You turn the page and she's like, oh, I love him, and I just, yeah, I didn't click with the book, unfortunately. So I did give it a 3 stars, which I feel like is quite generous. Like I said, the romance by the end of it was nice, and the story, like some of the elderly people that are in the retirement home, you really learn to love. It's just that the romance aspect of the book didn't hit, which is unfortunate because this is a romance book, so it kind of needs to. But yeah, 3 stars. I'm kind of like scared to read another one of her books now because I just love The Hating Game. So if you've read any of her other books, do let me know what you think, because I just like don't know where to go with Sally Thorne as an author now. Following on from what was a kind of disappointing read for me, I decided to go with a book that just everyone's hyped and is just like raving about, and that is Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young, I want to say. Bonham Young? Bonham? Please let me know how to say that. This book follows Wyn, who has like a limb difference, and she has a one-night stand with Beau, this is Beau, and ends up falling pregnant. It's very much a unexpected pregnancy trope. I know not a lot of people like that trope, but if you could just read this book anyway, I think it will change your mind, because both Wyn and Beau are just such perfect people, and they're perfectly imperfect in like the best way, and I want a Beau in my life. And that's all I can say. Like, it's a 5-star book, and I don't want to say too much, just you need to read it. It's perfection in my opinion. And again, I'm a professional in this stuff, so you should just, you know, read it basically. And then to finish off, the last 3 books that I read were a trilogy, and that trilogy is the Caraval series by Stephanie Garber. I have already read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, so, you know, come at me if you want, but I have no regrets from reading the second personally. It was like a backstory for Jax. If you don't know anything about these books, basically there's an infamous man called like Legend who hosts this thing called Caraval once a year, and every year it's in a different place, and it's a weird like carnival magical thing, like celebration, but there's like a game in it, and like you can take part in the game or you can just kind of go for the fun, and it's very like you don't know what's real and what's not. And yeah, I don't want to give too much away really, just you should read it. For me, Caraval was probably my least favourite in the trilogy. I just feel like it should have been longer so I could kind of get more into it. But it was still good. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give anything away if you've not read it. But yeah, it was like wasn't my fave. It was good, introduced me to the characters well, but I just kind of really wish there was more in this book. It felt kind of quick at times. So I did give that a 3.5 stars. And then the next 2 books, Legendary and Finale, I both gave 4 stars. These 2 kind of follow on from each other a bit more than Caraval does. Like, I feel like you could just read Caraval as a standalone if you wanted to. But these 2 follow Tella, whereas Caraval does follow Scarlet. So it kind of switches POV to her sister. I have not explained this well at all. Scarlet writes to a man called Legend asking every year if she can go to Caraval, and one year she finally gets invited, and that's kind of what this book is about. And then these 2 follow on, but in Tella's point of view, because you kind of find something out at the end of Caraval that you didn't know, obviously. Plot twist, whoa. And these books follow her more so than Scarlet. Although Scarlet does have her own POV every now and then in Finale, but it is mainly Tella, I think, at least. But yeah, if you've read Once Upon a Broken Heart, this is probably a really good way for you to kind of learn about Jax and his backstory, because you do get introduced to him in Legendary. And yeah, like I said, these 2 are both 4 stars. I gave this one a 3.5 stars. All in all, I would probably give this trilogy like a 4 stars as a whole. And then Once Upon a Broken Heart is like a 5-star series for me. But yeah, these are really good books, and I would definitely recommend reading them if you haven't yet, even if you've read, like I said, Once Upon a Broken Heart first. But yeah, those are all the books that I read in the month of July. Like I said, that is 10 books, and that is a lot. Like, please don't compare yourself to me because I'm currently unemployed, so it's just very easy for me to like smash out a book. Like, even if you read like 1 book in 3 months, that is so good. Like, reading is just so fun. But all in all, I'd say like overall, I feel like I've had like a pretty good reading month in July. I had 2 5-star books and only 1 that I was like disappointed with, which I feel like is pretty good going. We're now like nearly halfway into August and I've only read 1 book, so I'm gonna go and read. And I will see you all next time. And if you have any recommendations on things I should read, please let me know in the comments. Bye friends!